Awesome. We should be ready to go. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, you've mentioned that you're just back from this huge Europe tour. How do you feel back back in the country? How do you have this sort of after tour blues or anything like that?
Yeah, I definitely usually get the post-tour blues,
Yeah.
because especially after COVID, like we already took a 2-year break.
Yeah.
So it feels really good to just be playing shows again and being able to see audiences, meet people, and, play with the guys again, because everyone in Dragonforce, other than Herman, lives like on the other side of the world. So I
Yeah.
don't even get to see my own bandmates. And yeah, so it's been good, but there's pros and cons. Like it's definitely nice to come back home to some sunshine. Like I'm an LA girl, like I was
Yeah.
born here, raised, and so yeah, I was pretty cold in the winter in Europe,
I
but
can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine.
it was snowing the day that I flew home. But I mean, it was really cool. But I'm not gonna lie, I do miss the warm, so it was nice to come home for that reason. But
Yeah, I just can't be blamed really. I can imagine it's quite an experience to tour Europe, especially in the colder months. So yeah, I can definitely know what you mean. But do in general, what's your favorite aspect of touring? Like, do you like the specifically, traveling aspect and just going to different countries, or and do you enjoy like sightseeing and just being outside of your typical routine, or it's more about the music and playing in front of people and just experiencing the whole dynamic being with your bandmates and just doing everything together?
yeah, I mean, I'd say it's both because music and traveling are my two favorite things in the world. So I get to
Mhm.
combine both with touring. Um, so yeah, this tour especially was pretty cool because it was my first tour with Dragonforce that we weren't headlining. So we were direct supporting Powerwolf in Europe, and which meant that our sound checks were later and we got off stage early. So I had a lot more time to actually see the cities we were going to, which was cool. And I really tried to make the most of it. Like, because I've been guilty at times of like waking up late on tour because you get used to the rhythm and just going to sound check and doing that. But this tour, I really made it a point to try to go out almost every day and like just see the city. And we had some cool days off and some new places I've never been. So yeah, that was awesome. And of course, playing the shows is one of my favorite parts of it too. So.
Yeah, like what's your favorite thing and what's your go-to activity when visiting a new place? Is there something specific that you are set on seeing or doing, or is just about, just going with the flow pretty much?
Kind of just, yeah, it depends. Going with the flow, like I'll kind of do a little research on the city sometimes, like seeing, what the major highlights of things you kind of have to see the first time, like
Yeah.
check off the touristy stuff. But then also I like going to like really weird, like kind of, I don't know, trippy places. Like I guess you wouldn't call them speakeasies,
Yeah.
back there because it wasn't exactly Prohibition era, but I mean, like weird hidden places or, you know, I don't know, just different things are pretty cool to see. And then if I know people in the city or meet people and become friendly, I'll ask them where to go to and, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. And how long was the tour you've just been on, by the way?
This one was a few weeks long. I stayed for an extra like week before and after the tour, so I was there for
Mm.
like 5 weeks, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I've always been very curious and very interested to hear from musicians, but as a person who I have very strong sense of my of my personal space and having my own time and just being on my own from time to time just to operate properly. I've always been very interested. Um, do you have these sort of problems when you're on tour and obviously you're constantly with a group of people and you're traveling together and you're doing things together? Like, do you get that point where, this gets overwhelming, or it's just like constant fun and jokes and, just fun stuff?
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I mean, I guess it just depends on the person, but I love it. Like I don't you become like this family, I guess, on the road with your
Mhm.
bandmates and crew. So it's just kind of like experiencing all these different things together, funny moments, like meeting characters on the road. And so I don't really mind it. I mean, I think everyone goes through at least one period of the tour where maybe you feel like a little overwhelmed, where you're like, it'd be nice to have a little bit of me time. But like for the most part, I think as long as you're in a good environment, with the
Mhm.
people around you, then it's usually I enjoy it. So
Yeah, this makes
yeah.
sense. So, you know, let's just get to, a bit a general information about yourself. To name it like that. Obviously, you're so young and you've achieved so many things so far, and you've played with such big names, and you're so proactive when it comes to playing in different bands and creating music. And it really seems to me that you're so passionate about music and so determined to do what you do. So, how would you describe your journey in music so far? And I'll be interested to hear, how did you develop passion to what you do? And, what made you really interested in just getting on that life path in general?
Yeah, I mean, music's always been one of the main things in my life, like growing up listening to bands, and then even, getting to see some bands grow from like an infancy stage to getting really big and getting to see that up close was pretty cool. And I don't know, I just always craved that. Like I always wanted, like my dream was always to tour when I was young, like
Mm.
I would see friends go out on the road. I'm like, man, that seems so cool. And so yeah, I don't know, I just kind of as a teenager had bands and worked my way up to just getting to know people, recording, learning how just bands in general work, starting to book your own shows, and yeah, just kind of getting the experience of everything. But it's always been my passion, and it's definitely not an easy route to go on.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
a lot that goes into it. Like,
Yeah.
on socials, you kind of get to just show off the highlights of like, yay, we did this cool thing. Like, but I mean, if people knew how much actually went in behind that to make it happen, or where you got to be, there's, a lot of stuff that goes into it, but it's all worth it,
Mhm.
and it feels really good to accomplish. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this, it's a very broad topic, and I guess the fact that people, highlight the most enjoyable moments of their life on social media is a concept that applies to pretty much everything nowadays,
Yeah.
regardless of the specific activity. But what would you say is like, you know, what would you say is like one of the biggest and I would say most challenging moments in terms of the process of you devoting yourself to career in music, right? Was there a moment that you find specifically notable in this area, something that um, really tested your passion and determination to do what you do?
That's a good question. I feel like if you're in the music industry, you're gonna go through hardship no matter what. But I think probably just the biggest theme overall, maybe not one specific moment, but a lot of little moments. Just
Mhm.
kind of being a woman in the industry makes it even a
Yes.
little bit harder. You're
Yeah.
constantly, even now, I'm still having to prove myself every night on stage. Like there's always men in the audience like glaring at me, not wanting me there, like looking at what my fingers are doing, like, like she deserved to be there. Like, like it's really pisses me off. Like, like, so like sometimes those kind of things like have been tough, or feeling like, it might be, it's never easy for anyone really in the music industry, as I mentioned, but sometimes feeling like it's a tougher path. And the older I get, it's like, shoot, how much time do I have left, like to make stuff happen? There's all these things that are constantly going in your brain, and you kind of just have to overcome and just keep doing what you're doing and trying to enjoy it the most you can. So I'd say that might be the biggest struggle for me, but yeah.
You actually touched on, on something that I really wanted to talk to you about as well. And this is exactly, the harder part of achieving success being a female in the industry, which is, everyone talks about it, but it really, it really takes you to see it from the inside of it to actually realize how difficult it is. And I having this sort of experience in seeing how things are actually happening from the inside of the industry, and seeing all the terrible things, and just this whole of need for females to compensate, to overly compensate constantly, and to prove themselves in order to just reach the basic level of appreciation and respect from everyone is, I just think, and I can't imagine what it is. And the way I imagine it is that it's very difficult, and it's so challenging, and takes such a strong spirit to do it. And I was curious to hear your point on that, and especially when it comes to, obviously, you joining Dragonforce, because, this is such a, I guess, beloved band by so many different audiences, but I can definitely imagine this sort of approach towards the audience to you, as you've mentioned it, in terms of, having these sort of dudes that, are so invested in the band, and being like, hey, like, you just need to be so technical, and you have to be this amazing musician, and do you really deserve this spot? And, I can imagine that you're dealing with a lot of this sort of backlash in general. And when you got the opportunity to join the band, was this something that you were considering and thinking about? Was this something that was making you nervous to take advantage of such an opportunity? Or was it just something that, you didn't really think was a factor?
I think every woman in the industry deals with it. So I knew going into it, I'd already dealt with it already in other bands, but I knew it was going to be, definitely a big factor, especially with such a bigger metal band. But at the same time, it makes me kind of feel really good to do it, because, for all the guys that maybe aren't rooting for me, there's a ton of very supportive people also, men included. Like the Dragonforce fan base, for the most part, have been very supportive and nice and welcoming, which I was grateful for. But also for the women out there, like even on this tour alone, I remember a few ladies in particular on different nights had come up to me after the show, and just like, there was one woman who had like almost tears in her eyes, and she was just like, I just wanted to thank you, because it really meant a lot seeing a woman up there and like holding it down with all the guys. And, like it really means a lot for moments like that, to kind of do it for other women out there, and, have like other girls potentially that might want to do it, and to have them believe like it's possible, because it is. And I think over time, it's only getting better, like Joan Jett, she really paved the way for what I'm doing now, like for so many other women. And hopefully the women like me and other women out there now are going to make it easier for women in the future. So, it's moments like that that make it worth it. you're always going to deal with stuff along the way, but so are other men out there too in the industry. Like, it's just certain things you got to deal with. But yeah, and then having your bandmate support also. Like, I remember before our announcement of me in Dragonforce, Herman actually called me the night before, which was really, really nice. And he said, "Hey, I just want to let you know there's going to be some assholes out there on the internet, some trolls saying really bad things because you're the first woman in our band. And I just want to let you know you have our support. Don't listen to them. You're going to kick ass." And like, that meant a lot, you know? So, yeah.
That's so amazing, honestly, because I got such a huge respect for the band just, offering you this position and giving you this opportunity because, obviously I know you before that, we met and we talked for the first time. I think it was in Manchester.
Manchester, yeah.
Yeah. With your activity with Vigil of War, obviously, which is, amazing band, and we'll talk about it a bit more now. But when Dragonforce announced, I was so happy to see that, and I was like, wow, these guys are really, I just, experienced such a huge respect for them for doing this and for choosing you and for taking such a step, because I don't think many bands, to be fair, would do something like that nowadays, unfortunately. Just overthinking different factors and thinking about a whole scope of things that are, not music related or whatever the case might be. And, this seems as such a natural, and it seems that you have such a natural synergy between yourselves. And I remember, you appearing on Herman street streams and just doing things together. And even on your appearance on social media, it seems that you have such a good connection. And I would be interested to hear your thoughts on that. Was that something that, you just bonding together, something that came naturally? Or was it something that, developed through the time?
I'd say both, but I mean, especially because so Herman's the only one that lives here in LA, so I did get to know him and his wife, and they were both just immediately off the bat very welcoming, very supportive, and it made me feel very comfortable in that environment, and they were just like rooting me on the whole time. So that meant the world. And then, getting to know the other guys, they're like my brothers, they're all really cool. I don't get to see them as much, but obviously we spent a lot of time on the road. So yeah, I feel close to all of them. And I grew, I guess, closer to those guys on the road. And, so yeah, I have nothing but respect for everyone. And I'm glad that I have their support. And
amazing. That's so great. It really seems that you have such a positive connection between yourselves. So that's so awesome to see, And what was I'm very curious to hear about that as well. What was the moment that they offered you the role? Like, I'm interested to hear how this happened. What was your reaction? How you felt about it? And, just seeing more about it.
Yeah, it was a few months worth of like kind of waiting and not knowing, and just, it was a nerve-wracking process, but it was great. I mean, so basically what happened was, as you know, I have my own band, Vigil of War, that I sing and play bass in, and we've done some shows, like we came over to the UK before and done a little bit outside of where we live, but we mostly play locally, like here in LA. We do we had quite a few residencies at the Whiskey A Go Go. So it was there that we had this guy, Dave, who has become a friend of ours. He comes to, I think he's been to every single LA show that we've ever played, except maybe one. Nice. He's just very supportive, and he's somehow, it's friends, I guess, with Herman. They've known each other for a while. So when, Herman was asking around when Fred left Dragonforce, like, hey, we're looking for bass players. send your suggestions in. Dave had recommended me, so all of a sudden I get hit up by Herman on Instagram and saying, we would like you to audition. And I honestly had zero thought that I would ever have this happen, I was like, I thought it would be a cool opportunity to kind of see what their audition process was like, but I really didn't think I was going to get this gig because it's very left field from where I come from. I've come from a rock background, not a power metal background.
Yes.
And I'm like, whew, this is going to be a tough one, but it'd be cool to like at least see what it's like, and I had low expectations, but during the process of like learning the songs and kind of getting to know them a little over time, I really started like, okay, I really want this gig, so it was over a few months, and then they started to narrow down the process. I think one of the last things we did was they were actually touring here, and I went to go meet them. So I met the rest of the guys for only one time, very briefly, and I think they were down to like 3 contenders left. Wow. And yeah, just kind of talked to them a little bit. They'd all seen my videos, like, of playing some of the songs, and yeah, it was nerve-wracking, but eventually I think, Herman just called me one day and said, all right, you're coming on tour with us. And then,
wow.
So yeah, it was crazy. And then when I finally got to go over and tour with them, it was even kind of more of a crazy thing because we didn't get any rehearsals before the first show, so I was sweating. I'd never used in-ears before. Like I was barely only met the other guys once. Whoa. So I was stepping in like pretty green and terrified, but it all ended up going well. So
wow, yeah. That's amazing. And you've mentioned that obviously this opportunity is slightly different than what you've been concentrated on in the past in terms of the genre differences and so on. And what made you, as you've said yourself, what made you really want that? Was it the scale of the project? Was it the music? Was it the team? Was it the people that are involved? And I'm just, interested to hear your thought process when it comes to developing this sort of desire.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said, I think a little bit of all of that combined, especially after starting to play the songs, you start to kind of fall in love with it and then really enjoy the whole process. And then getting to see the whole show live, I was like, wow, they have all this big production. And of course, music is my life, and I've always wanted to tour for a living. So it's nice to kind of have my project, which is my creative outlet, where I can write, book my own shows, record, and do a lot of stuff creatively, but also get to do something completely different musically, and just being more of a stepping in and then getting to play and not have to worry about all the other stuff. Like they got a whole team behind them, and they're kind of planning most of everything, so that's also nice to have the balance. Because doing your own band is amazing in some ways, but it's also very stressful and a lot of work goes into it. So having the balance of both, is really nice.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine. And with Vigil of War, how did you create the band in general? How was it established? I'm interested to hear about this process as well, because I can imagine it's it's very much your own creation, and it's a result of what you've been envisioning about yourself and about your career. So it's pretty much your own thing. And I'm interested to hear, what was the motivation behind that, establishing the group.
Right. So yeah, I guess just one thing always leads to another. So 7 years ago, I was in a band called She Demons, which is an all-girl punk band that was put together by Jerry Only from the Misfits. Kiki Wong, who plays with me in Vigil of War now, was also in She Demons with me. So back then, when our singer Priya had to play some other shows with her band Diamonds, in between our tour, we took over vocals, me, Kiki, and our other guitar player, Constance Day. So it was the first time I had ever sang. I never wanted to be a singer. I didn't even think I could play and sing at the same time, let alone sing. So it was, I only think I sang 2 songs during the set, but it was the first time I ever realized, oh, I guess I could kind of do this, like, you know, like, so I've always relied on singers, you know, and other people to kind of front the band. And I guess that slowed me down in previous projects because I've kind of been a leader, but I've never wanted to be the front person. So once She Demon disbanded, I really wanted to keep obviously some momentum and, you know, band and music going. I didn't want to just stop and do nothing. So that's kind of when I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna make this happen, do my own thing. And I got the opportunity from some friends in the band Barbed Wire Dolls. They said, hey, we're putting this residency at the Whiskey together in 6 weeks. Like, you kind of mentioned you maybe were going to start your own band. Did you have that ready? And I was like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm on. And then I didn't have like literally any bandmates or even a band name, or I think I had 1 song demo. So I had to, it just gave me the motivation and like, you know, the fire, I guess, to kind of get everything together in that 6-week period before our first show. So yeah, we wrote the rest of the songs, found bandmates, obviously got our name and like, yeah. So I think sometimes just like having a deadline and the motivation to do something. So yeah, that's kind of how that all came to be.
Yeah, I can so much relate to that, by the way. I'm so much more productive when there's a specific deadline, a specific task to achieve, and
Yeah,
really puts order to everything, which I like. So I know what you mean. So, you know, obviously, things just pretty much happened, and you know, you were motivated to do that, and you were aspiring to generate the best possible results with the band. But was there a specific moment, you know, where it just clicked in your mind and you said to yourself, oh, we're actually really good, and there's actually, you know, we actually have a great chance to succeed, and we're actually really doing this, if you know what I mean. Is there a specific moment in your head that, you know, this happened? Or
I don't think there was a specific moment or anything. I think I've just always believed in everything that we've done, you know, like I never want to put out something we don't believe in, or put something out half-assed. So it's like visually, musically, and creatively, like we always want to be 100%. So whether that's, you know, gonna attract the masses or not, like, you know, that's okay. Like if whether it clicks with people or not, but I think it's authentic and that can relate to people. So it was, you know, once you start seeing though people that you don't know come to your shows, that are wearing your shirts or know singing your songs, it's kind of like, whoa, that's the best feeling in the world. So you know.
yeah, and just to go back in time a bit more, like, you know, you've mentioned that you got passionate about dance and about music and all of that, and I'd be curious to hear, like, how did this exactly happen, in terms of whether there was an influence from family or friends to introduce you to the type of music that got you really into it, and also, like, how did you start playing bass? How did you, you know, just start playing instruments in general?
Yeah, so I mean, I've kind of always dabbled with instruments. I started piano when I was 4 because I
Oh,
used to
wow.
have like a toy keyboard that I'd mess around with. So my parents were like, oh, she must, you know, maybe she wants to do this. So I did that for a couple years. I played flute actually in like the
Nice.
school band. My brother played sax and kind of did that. But it wasn't until I was probably like 10, 11 when I give credit to Fuse TV, which was kind of like Kerrang Scuzz over there in the UK,
Oh,
where they used to play, all these cool bands and music videos and it was just eye-opening for me. So my parents did raise me on good stuff. They were always playing like, new wave punk and rock, whatever. But once you kind of turn a certain age and you're like discovering your own things, and it just
yes.
like that was very eye-opening. So I think even, just seeing like My Chemical Romance and Avenged Sevenfold and like bands like
Yes.
that, it made me be, oh, I want a guitar. So, like I got a guitar. I think when I was like 11 or something,
Mhm.
played guitar mainly as my main instrument for a few years until I eventually picked up bass and then fell in love with bass, and everybody always needed a bassist. So
Yes.
I think I just kind of ended up being a bass player, and now that's definitely my main thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, what were the first bands that, completely blown your mind and you're like, whoa, like this is the best thing I've heard. This is what I want to listen until the end of my life.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, I'd give credit to probably My Chemical Romance and The
Yes.
Used. Those are some of the big ones because at 10 years old, like I'd never heard or seen anybody that sounded or looked like that. And I was like, what is this? This is
Yes.
kind of scary, but I'm really intrigued and like, what are they? I've never heard these sounds, like
Yes.
it's cool. So, I mean, it might be silly, but I mean, I would love to. And they definitely inspired me and, yeah.
Yeah. It's such a distinct experience. And what you've mentioned completely happened to me as well, because this band for me was Bullet for My Valentine. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first heard a song from them, and this was my first touch with screaming music. And I was like, I'm terrified, but this is actually cool in a way that I can't really understand right now, but I really want to.
Yep.
So I guess it's always it's very interesting. I've been thinking about what's this thing that actually fascinates people interested in heavy music in it. Obviously there's a plethora of different things, but I guess the shock factor is a common thing, because what this music really does, especially in instinct reaction, is always to shock you. It's like a horror
Mm.
movie. You just have to have this sort of instant connection with it.
Yeah.
um
Definitely. And Bullet was definitely one of my like The Poison was such a
yes.
inspiring album. Like I'd say
Yes.
I was around 14 or 15 maybe when I got kind of more introduced a little later, but they were definitely one of the bands that kind of brought me more into like the melodic metal world for sure.
Yes. Yes, the moment I was referring to earlier was exactly with the Poison, and the
Mm.
first track, Her Voice Resides. If you remember how
Yeah.
it starts, it's just like
Yeah.
yes, and I'm like, whoa, this is
Yeah.
actually insane, and I don't know how I
Yeah.
feel about it, but she's just yeah, it's so just um, it's so interesting to talk about these moments. And I don't know about you, but and I guess it's very relevant to you as well, because as musicians, as people involved in music, very often we get to a point where we kind of lose track on why we're doing things, and we get discouraged, and we get suspicious whether we have to keep moving forward. And I found for myself that just in this sort of moments when I reminisce about my first touch with music and developing this love is really helping me and really inspiring me in a way. Um, do you have this sort of moments as well? And like, how do you deal with them if you do?
I mean, I think yeah, we're really similar in that way because I think most artists do deal with the self-doubt at times and the
Yes.
because it's not an easy route to go, especially in this day and age. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot tougher to quote unquote make it in the industry. And,
Yes.
it's just a tough industry in general. So of course there's times where you're like, should I be doing this? Am I doing the right thing?
Yes.
But I mean, it's like you said, you go back to those moments when you're 12 years old and like bright-eyed and, do
Yes.
why you're doing what you're doing. And then you're thinking of how far you've gotten and you're like, oh yeah,
Yes.
I'm, I wish, I just want to high five my 12-year-old self, like, and yeah, it's a cool feeling. And especially when you get to see those shiny-eyed kids at shows. Those are my favorite people to meet, like, anywhere from like 9 to 15-year-olds that are, you know maybe having an interest in like doing what you're doing, and then seeing how much it means to them. And yeah, those are my favorite moments, honestly. So yeah.
Yeah. I actually do this sort of a method as well, the one you've mentioned in terms of, just comparing yourself at this particular moment in life with, your previous versions. And I guess this is a very good dynamic just to utilize because it really puts things into perspective. Sometimes we're just so focused on, just achieving more and doing more and comparing ourselves even subconsciously with other people, and it's just insane, I guess. It's just funny for me because it seems that not many people understand how just mentally exhausting is to
Mm,
just be on your top level game all the time.
mm,
So you've mentioned that you know your involvement in music was related with your family and parents, and your brother is is also has been playing music too. Um, so would you say your family has been supportive and encouraging for you to just get into music despite all the, I guess, negative influence that most of the families have when it comes to their children developing career in music?
right. Yeah, I'm very lucky. My parents are the most supportive ever. Like, they're rooting for me. They come to every single show if I have one
Yes.
nearby, or at least even like a few hours driving distance. I'm like, Mom, you can't tour with me, like. But both of my parents, they love it, and they follow along the Twitch streams. And I'm very lucky in that aspect because I know not everyone has parents that are
Mm.
supportive in what their kids are doing, especially in the artistic world. But yeah, so I definitely am lucky in that regard. So
That's amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing. So, like outside of music, do you have any other distinctive passions, anything that you're really into it, or is it's just music and you're all focused on that?
Yeah, I know. I always wonder about like what am I gonna do when I'm an old lady, Like, I'm probably still something music related, but I
Yeah,
mean, that's kind of my only focus, to be honest. Like, I mean, if
yeah,
I'm that's my only passion, really. I mean, I
awesome.
love hanging out with friends and family, traveling.
Yeah,
Those are like the things I do to enjoy when I'm not really like doing music. But other than that, I mean, that's kind of my only thing. And I prefer to just like put all my eggs in one basket and just go with the ride, the journey. So,
honestly, I think that's the best possible approach, especially when you have big plans and ideas in terms of what you want to do in the business. But like, let's say, in general, when you have free time and when you tour, whatever the case might be, um like, what do you do just to spend time and maybe just waste time in general? Like, is there something that I guess just used to spend time and just yeah.
yeah, like, when I'm not doing music, writing or rehearsing with the band or whatever, then I spend my free time you know, hanging with family and friends. And if I can get away, like I like to take trips, traveling, and you know, because sometimes, like you said, it's like mentally exhausting, all of it, you know. So my, I guess, outlet would be little trips here and there. If I can try to go places and get out of LA sometimes, that's always kind of, I like to do that. So
what sorts of places do you like? Are you more like a nature person, or do you like, you know, architecture in big cities and, you know, dynamic environments? And, you know, what do you like the most in terms of this sort
I
of?
mean, I like a little bit of everything, but I do love big cities. You know, I grew up in LA, so, but I mean, architecture stuff too, or tropical. I like tropical places. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of like going to different, you know, I liked themed places. So like
Nice.
if I can find a weird themed hotel somewhere and kind of plan a little trip around that, I like to do that. Just, you know, making life interesting, doing different things, and you know, so you're not
Yeah.
stuck in the same place all the time, because that's when I think I get the most like, crazy, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, what are your top 5 favorite places in the world? I know
Ooh.
it's a big question, but you
Shoot.
know, just put you on the spot. But yeah.
Well, I do love England a lot. I think I very much resonate with, you know, English people, English culture, music,
Yeah.
their humor. So I love
Yeah.
going to the UK. Like I have some of my best friends and like, you know, over there, and so that's always kind of feels like I'm going to my home away from home.
Yeah.
Like I have some friends in Huddersfield and some friends in Manchester too.
Nice.
So I love going to those places. So I'm just gonna say that's
Yeah.
probably my number one. Um, shoot. Let's see. Belize is a really beautiful place that I got to go to with my family one time on a cruise stop. It
Whoa.
was really pretty and tropical and warm, and that was really, really cool. I'd say Salt Lake City is also um, really beautiful. It has both the nature and the city part.
Oh.
They're really nice people there. You know, I have a lot of fun there. I like Madonna Inn here in
Oh.
California, which is San Luis Obispo. It's a themed hotel, so you know that's one of my favorites. I like to take people to if they've never been to, you know, it's just like something different to do.
Yes.
Every room there is different, and they got like a lot of cool stuff.
Oh.
And I mean, let's see. This is tough, only 5 places, but maybe Rome. I think
Oh.
Rome,
Yeah.
Italy is maybe one of the coolest places I've ever been. Just Italy in general is so cool, so different from
Yes.
really anywhere else. Like they really do have their own culture there, and it's beautiful. And I went in the summer, so it was nice and warm,
Oh
and you know,
yes.
food was great. So
So
yeah,
many people as well. You know, it's just
yeah.
that's one of the fullest cities I've ever been to as well.
Mm.
Yeah. Did you make it 5?
I think that was 5. Yeah, let's see. The UK
Yeah,
and
yeah,
as a
yeah,
whole. We got
yeah,
Belize.
yeah,
I did Salt Lake City, Madonna Inn,
yeah. In
and
Rome, yeah. That's a, you know, that's a really interesting combination. It's like it's so many different elements and aspects. That's great to, you know, that's great to see something like that.
yeah.
And you know, I'm really interested how you you know, you mentioned GK and that you really resonate with the place, um, even with the weather.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing that would be tough, because I could, if I had to live anywhere else other than here in LA, I
Yeah,
think I would probably move to honestly Manchester or
yeah,
somewhere around the Yorkshire area.
yeah,
The only part that would be a bummer would be the weather. I mean, a little bit of rain and gloom is okay, but I am used to being in the sun. So that's the only thing that would probably bum me out, but otherwise, I love everything there. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because the first, the main thing that really struck me when you mentioned that, I was like, whoa, this is not a place for people enjoying the sun in general. So
Yeah.
that's
Uh-huh.
amazing. So what are your upcoming plans? Like, I know it's such a trivial thing, to talk about, but do you have New Year's resolutions and all of that stuff? Like, is there something that you're particularly excited about the next year? Something that you're looking forward to? Or
Um, yeah, I mean, I think I just really want to make the year as productive as possible.
Mhm.
Um, versatile, like, I can announce to you, I think you're the first person I'll
Oh
say it
wow.
to, but we are actually coming back to the UK in
Yes.
April. So I
Yes.
have officially confirmed some shows for Vigil of War in April of 2023. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I can't believe how fast time is going. It's blowing my mind. I mean, obviously, we got 2 years taken away from COVID, but it'll be 4 years in February since we've been there. So
Whoa.
we're definitely overdue, and I'm so excited to come
Oh
back.
my
So
God,
we're
yes.
doing that, recording new music, releasing new music, and then Dragonforce is going to be busy as well, second half of the year. And then we're recording the new Dragonforce album now. So,
Oh,
yeah, so there's a lot going on. So I think it's going to be a good, productive year.
oh, that's amazing. And um,
Yeah.
was was your last Vigil of War UK tour the one that we met at in
Mm-hmm.
Manchester? Oh
Yeah, we've only
wow.
done it the one time, so I can't believe it. It doesn't feel that long ago, but yeah, it's almost 4 years. So
Jesus,
it's
yes.
time has just gone by too fast. I'm like, you know what? We just need to get back over already. Like, let's do
Oh,
it.
I
So,
would so love to attend the show, because and I've mentioned this to so many people. That show I watched you performing was, it had such a pure, raw rock and roll vibe to it. In a such a, I'd say, in a such rare way, because there's so many bands that are, going with this, with the aesthetics, and with the vision and whatnot. But what you did back then, I really felt like I was in a some club in the 80s, just watching a breakthrough band performing.
what?
Yeah,
Oh, thank
seriously. Of
you.
course. No,
That
I
means so much.
of course. I mean, I really mean it as well. I even remember just texting people about that, because, we were in this sort of, I remember that place so well. Like, it was in this sort of like smaller bar, was it?
Yeah, it was
Club?
just a tiny little place with like not that many people there. I think it was called the
Yeah.
Castle
The castle,
in
it might
Manchester.
have been it. Yeah, I remember the interior very well, and it was very old
Yeah.
school, with the old architecture and all of that. And yeah, there was a good amount of people, but the space wasn't really big. But I remember that, again, when you started playing, was like really, like one of those scenes you watch in a biopic movies about bands, where, they just start playing in front of a few people, but they have it. It
Oh,
feels
thank
really,
you.
honestly, yeah.
That means a lot.
Yeah, sure. I
Oh,
mean, I
it
really mean
really
it.
does.
I'm not really trying saying this
No,
to be
yeah,
kind or
you're very
anything.
genuine always, so
Yeah,
thank
but
you.
that's why I'm so, looking forward to watch you perform live again, because I think, this is my personal opinion, but it feels that not many bands nowadays can, induce this sort of pure passion to music through their sets and through performing live, which is, I don't know. I just really like the old school vibe to it, for just a few people just, expressing their true passion through performing, which is, I guess this is the beauty of music in general, but yeah.
Yeah, true. Well, thank you. That means a lot. And I'm excited for you to see us again. I honestly can say, like, I personally think we've grown even way more since 4 years ago. And, we have a lot more music too, because I remember back then, I think we were only a year old and people were like, more. And we're like, we don't have any other songs.
I actually,
Our set was like 30 minutes long or something. But now we've got a lot more music and grown a lot as artists, like as musicians. So I think I'm very excited to return. And
yeah, I actually remember that. I was like, whoa, this is a short set, and people are like, oh,
Yeah.
So it will be good to have a full set.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, it seems that you'll be having a very productive year. Like this is it's always fantastic to see that. And what are your plans for the holidays? Like, how do you usually spend the holiday times? I assume it's more like a family thing, but is there something specific that just brings back the sentiment of the child days in terms of holiday routines?
Yeah, I mean, I am lucky that because I did grow up here, basically in LA, like not too far away, about half hour away. All my family's here, so I get to spend time with them, and I'm really close with my family, so it'll be really cool. And this will be the first Christmas that I am now an aunt, so I have a new 8-month-old niece who is adorable, so it's gonna be her first Christmas, so it's gonna be exciting this year. So
congrats, Buzz. That's amazing. This is a big moment. So I get the excitement. But in terms of by the way, sorry for just being all around the place and just switching topics left and right.
No, it's cool. It keeps it interesting. I mean, it's not the same like questions that you get in every interview. It's awesome. It feels more like we're just hanging out anyway. So
yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. Do you have a favorite holiday movie? Something that you watch every year, e.g. Home Alone or something like that?
Yeah, I'd say my top two are definitely A Christmas Story and Christmas Vacation. So, have you seen A Christmas Story? Because a lot of English people, it's like an American staple, but I feel like a lot of English people have never seen it.
So, Christmas Story, was it the movie with the gun?
No.
What was it?
Yeah, see, English people don't seem to know it, but it's literally such an American staple. It plays on TV 24 hours a day on Christmas. It's that big of a deal, but it's a classic, so you definitely check it out. Christmas Story. And then A Christmas Vacation is always great with Chevy Chase and Lewis. So,
okay. I know this.
Those are two of my faves. So we watch that every year.
I'm just curious about Christmas Story because it sounds so familiar. What was it about? I'm pretty sure that I've watched it.
It's mainly about a little boy, and he's got a brother, and it's like a whole family. But
the boy with the glasses, right?
Yeah.
And he wanted this gun. That's what I was referring to.
The BB, yes.
The BB gun, yes. Yes. I love this one. I absolutely love it, by the way.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
I because it's I remember it came on TV, and to be fair, I watched it for the first time probably a few years ago, and it was just one of those movies that it's just so wholesome, It's just like it just was the Christmas vibes, and it was so funny. So that's a good selection.
Yeah, it's definitely like my family's like we have to watch it every year, those two. And I mean, there's so many good Christmas movies too, Home Alone, like The Grinch, and like, other ones that get scattered in there, but maybe not every year, but those two are definitely my two that I have to every year. So
honestly, I'm very happy to, very glad to hear about this selection, because most of the people are just like, oh, Christmas movies, it has to be Harry Potter, and or
Harry Potter, I wouldn't even think about that as a Christmas movie, really. I mean,
well,
I guess
not necessarily Christmas movie, but it seems that people just like watching all of it during the holidays and the vacations and whatnot. So this is what I regularly see nowadays. Just like, oh, Christmas is coming, time to to do the marathon or whatever. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I guess it's it's gloomy. It gives you just like
that's true. I mean, I do love Harry Potter, and every few years I'll try to do like the week of watching all of them, but I wouldn't maybe, I guess, think about it during Christmas, but I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. In general, like, do you have like a top selection of favorite movies? Like, do you have something that is just being replayed regularly?
I mean, like I said, English humor is my all-time favorite. So Shaun of the Dead is my number one.
Yes.
The Cornetto trilogy, really, I mean, those are definitely in my top 5, but Shaun of the Dead is number 1 for me. I love Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and yeah.
Are you into like horror, or like, do you like horror movies, or not that much?
I'm a little hit or miss with horror movies, surprisingly. I don't enjoy being scared or uncomfortable. So unless it's like a psychological thriller that I can watch during the daytime, or I don't know, it depends. Every once in a while, it's good to watch one, but it's not my go-to. I'd say comedy is definitely my go-to. I like a good drama though sometimes, or something that'll make me cry. I don't know, but horror for some reason I'm not the most
that much into
keen
it.
on. But yeah,
that's understandable. And okay, so we talked about favorite bands, artists, movies, but like, give me your guilty pleasures in terms of music and movies / TV series. Is there something that you really enjoy and you're kind of hesitant to talk about in front of people?
I mean, I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like, but I guess maybe people would be more surprised that I really love pop. I love I like pretty much every genre of music other than country and rap. I'm not big on those maybe, but I mean, I love pop. Like, I will put on Miley, or there's a Paris Hilton song, honestly. It's really good. People don't know, like, if you don't know it's her, they're like, oh, who is this? And I'm like, you'll never guess. But stars are blind. I'm telling you, it's catchy. Like, so I don't really care if it's like a guilty or people, you know what I mean? But if you like it, I like it. So
exactly.
Maybe something like that. Pop, I love pop, but I don't know about, did you say TV shows?
Yeah, TV shows, movies, something like that.
I do watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette with my mom. It's so cringy, and I know it's terrible, and like, it's so like, yeah, right, but we watch it every year. It's just something we bond over, and I get to do with my mom, but I know it's pretty bad.
I honestly, I can completely relate to both of the things that you've mentioned, because firstly, I have this fascination with, really cringy reality shows. Like, the cringiest it is, the better for me. I'm just fascinated to see how bad it actually can get. It's really entertaining.
Yeah, it's fun sometimes. Yeah.
And
What are some of your go-tos?
of the reality shows?
Yeah.
Well, recently, I've been on a Netflix tier of reality shows, and even with my girlfriend, we've been watching The Circle. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a it's a relatively interesting concept, but I really with my cousin. This is actually we actually have a similar tradition. When we get together, we just put TLC on and we watch whatever is happening over there. Like 90 days.
Oh yeah.
What was it?
90 Day Fiance. Yes. I've delved into that.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's just so ridiculous that it's just funny. It's like it's an experience.
An experience. That's definitely a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and I've watched whatever, like Survivor, Big Brother.
Yup.
all of the classics. I'm aware of them. So I completely know what you mean. And the other thing I was going to mention is that in terms of listening to other genres of music, honestly, I can't understand how people can just listen to one genre all the time. And especially when you're involved in the music industry from a specific genre. For me, and I was actually talking about this a few days ago, I just realized that I haven't listened to alternative music probably in like a couple of weeks now. Because you're constantly doing that, and you're reading about it, and you're working that, and at some point, you sort of just get tired of it, and you just need those small breaks. And I completely understand, the pop part of it, because I'm also listening to a lot of the names you mentioned, and I'm proud of it.
What are the names?
Paris Hilton, Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
Early Miley though for me, early Miley, Party in the USA. That's
okay. Nice. Yeah. Some catchy. Yeah. I really like the last album she put out though. Her rock album.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily rock, but it's catchy. It's good. I like it. She worked with a lot of people I would love to work with, like Debbie Harry and Billy Idol, and I was like, dang.
Yeah.
But
I think what's good about her is that she really has very good appreciation of the rock culture. I feel like, she's doing it the proper way. It doesn't sound as someone just trying to hop on the wave and just take benefits of it,
True. Yeah.
But early 2000s pop, that's my stuff.
That's your stuff, yeah. Nice.
Honestly, I guess I'm just listening to everything, in all fairness.
Yeah, it's good to be like that, because otherwise you're just stuck in this box, and especially like you said, like as an artist, like if artists are stuck in that box, it really doesn't get very interesting, like everyone in my band has like such a wide variety of what they listen to, and like all of us like listen to all over the map, and then so then when we write together, we kind of pull influences from all over the place, and it just ends up as our own sound. And I think that's where it becomes more interesting than it's like, if we only listen to metal and then we're just gonna sound like every other metal band.
So well said. Honestly, I always think that it's imperative, if you're an artist, to actually really broad, to broad your horizon in terms of music that you're listening to. Because as you mentioned, like, if you're not doing that, you'll never be able to actually, evolve and do something different and really perfect your craft to the best possible capacity. And what I see from all successful, well-performing music artists is that they're listening to a lot of stuff, and most of the times it's very unexpected. To hear what these sort of figures are listening to. So yeah, it makes all the sense. But yeah, pop. Pop is a very special genre for me as well. To name it like that. Yeah. Okay. So at the moment, why I'm just interested to hear like why while you are not on the road or not, or you actually mentioned that you are recording right now, right, with Dragonforce?
Yeah, so we're all doing it kind of in different parts of the world, which is cool too. I've never done it that way. This is my first Dragonforce album, so I'm excited to be a part of it. But our producer Damien is here in LA, so me and Herman will do our parts here. And then they've already been recording back in Europe. He was just over in France recording drums in the last week. And then guitar parts, Sam's demoed all this stuff from the beginning, and then Mark will throw his vocals on it in the UK. And yeah, so it's cool. I'm excited to be a part of this. And it's been a few years since they've released an album, so to have a whole new, fresh album and the cycle and whatever comes along with that, like visual stuff, and it's gonna be fun. So
yeah, that's so crazy, that we're in a point where you can be scattered all around the world and you actually can perform these recording processes. It's wow, it's really fascinating, for me at least.
Yeah, it's cool.
And something else that I forgot to ask you earlier, I've seen that you did quite a lot of Twitch sessions with Herman, and there were some really crazy ones as well. They're so interesting, and so it's very interesting to see all the different ideas that are being performed there. Like, do you have like a favorite one that you did with the different musicians that appeared on there or something like that? Because it seems as such a fun experience to actually perform that,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, during COVID, we definitely, he has his own Twitch channel, which, he does all kinds of different things. And then I was even doing some Twitch streams for quite a while of my own. But I think my favorite Twitch streams are when we're on the road. Herman has made it definitely his own unique way of, he brings Twitch and everyone who watches like along the road, on the road with us. So he sets up all these cameras and, you get to watch our shows every night, which is pretty cool. Cause if I had that growing up, and he would even bring it backstage, you'd really get to see how tour life is, Sometimes it's a little weird and uncomfortable for us because it's like I'm coming out of the, in my pajamas and my slippers or something, and then it's like, oh hey, thousands of people on the internet and I didn't realize you were here, so sometimes it's a little weird for us, but I would imagine as a Twitch watcher, and if I was growing up getting to see what my bands were, favorite bands were doing on the road, it's pretty cool. It's unique. So yeah, we didn't do it this last tour though. So I think we're just going to do that when we headline our own tour. So,
I guess this really makes it for a very distinctive touring experience. It's also something very different.
Big Brother's watching. That's what we've nicknamed it.
That would be a good initiation. Yeah, amazing. Do you have any final words, anything specific that you want to promote, anything that, would like just to share with people, I guess, in general?
I guess just keep an eye out. We have some new Vigil of War music coming out pretty soon, as well as I mentioned earlier, we are coming to the UK this April of 2023. Very excited for that. So we're going to be hitting several cities across the UK. And after that, I guess Dragonforce will be doing some stuff too. So keep follow our socials. You'll see all the updates. So Vigil of War and Dragonforce. So yay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. Honestly, that was amazing,
Aw, thank you. Yeah, it was fun. I appreciate you having me.
Of course. I really like that. It was, it was a natural conversation. Sometimes it's difficult to, establish those, but that was very fun. Thank you.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah. Again, just thank you for accepting the invitation. Thank you for doing this. Sorry again for the delay in the beginning.
All good.
And I'll let you know as soon as the episode is out, obviously. Again, thank you so much. It was a massive pleasure. And hopefully I'll talk to you soon. And hopefully I'll see you guys performing soon as well.
Yeah, see you hopefully in April.
Yeah, definitely. I'll try my best. Definitely.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.